Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 8th episode of the RSF1 podcast. And I'm Primus Gaming, and joined with me today is Top Notch. How are you doing, Top Notch?
Hi, mate. Not bad, not bad.
So, you all are probably already asking the question, where's Tomo and where's Peppermeat? The other two. Well, Tomo and Peppermeat are... Well, unfortunately, both of them are feeling a little bit under the weather. So for today, it will be just me and Top Notch. So we will still have our special guests, which we will reveal when we invite them. So we'll leave the surprise factor for you lot. But unfortunately, we are a couple of men down due to sicknesses. But, you know, we just got to make sure that, they get better soon. And hopefully be ready for the next week's episode of the RSF1 podcast. So today is going to be a very special episode before we do the recap like we normally do. So we are going to be honouring our fallen veterans and soldiers, of all nationalities and countries that had fell during the tragic events of the First and Second World War. Not just them, but all other conflicts as well. We will be taking a minute's silence after the recap to honour them, because as we know, the 11th of November will be Remembrance Day, so everyone will be doing minute silence then. But as the podcast is always held on a Friday, we will not be able to hold it on there because not everyone's going to be available at that time. So first off, we'll get cracking on with the recap. So I was there for F2 with Bodder, which was a really, really good race. So from what I can tell, the battle between the championship leader, Magic Marks, is starting to take a bit of a climb with the likes of Skunkburner, who only just returned to Formula 2 after being gone for a while from leaving the league for a bit, due to personal reasons. And he came back in Italy, and he's actually won 3 times in a row consecutively, Top Notch. Like, Skunkburner has been amazingly quick since coming back. And Marks and Skunk are really good friends outside of the league. And do you feel that could probably be like a good chemistry between rivals, like good friendship on and off the track?
Yeah, definitely helps them to having friends on tracks, especially when you're alongside them. That wheel-to-wheel racing makes for a lot easier wheel-to-wheel racing, because you're used to it, obviously.
And a load of people really did pull off some really good moves. We had Schumacher, we had Man with the Cash, we had Patronus. There was a bit of an unfortunate turn of events that happened in the beginning of the race with RSF1 Brundle, who unfortunately got caught in an incident with Tabitzi, Mr. T, in the opening lap. So unfortunately that set Brundle back quite a bit. But the battle was quite strong because, Russia's a bit of a confusing track. And they actually had a couple of new people in covering for Patronus and... Not Patronus, Jake Moore and Craig, because both of them... Well, Craig, RSF1 Senna, we know him as Craig Senna, though. But they both were away, and 2 people took over in the Red Bull seats. And they actually did really, really good. And unfortunately, one of the Red Bull drivers... unfortunately lagged out, like his game crashed. So he was going for an amazing strategy because there was rain at the end of the session, I remember it clearly, and he rode out the mediums he started on. I think he did 22 laps on them. Then the game kicks him, then his AI pits the softs, then the rain comes onto intermediate tyres, and then his AI never changes onto the inters. So he went from second all the way down to dead last after an impressive battle with Skunkburner. But in the end, the race standings ended with Skunkburner taking the win, Magic Marks coming second, and actually the man with the cash, well, formerly known as Josh with Dosh, or as Bodder likes to call him, Racing Jason, he came 3rd place and scored some really good points for Ferrari. And then the driver of the day was Patronus. So It was a really really strong day for Patronus, Man of the Cash, Magic Marks, and especially Skunk after a hat trick. It's his third consecutive win after returning to Formula 2 in RSF1. So that's really good to see.
It's not easy to do, that's for sure.
No, and I mean, the only person who's actually managed to, the only couple of people that's actually achieved that in other divisions was Mr. T when he was actually in F4. He consecutively finished in first place quite a few races, and Unity Hush in F1. And speaking of F1, Patronus, how did F1 go?
Patronus in there this week, mate, but yeah. Already missing him, huh? Yeah, that was. I do want to say one thing. Like, if F1 guys had it dry all throughout quali 1, quali 2, quali 3, and the race up until I think it hit intermediates halfway, I believe. But yeah, qualifying went pretty well. With the usual suspects up at the top with Mr. Pigeon in second place and RSF1 Vettel in third, but a new name that I haven't seen before in the league, RSF1 Lando, which is a change of names, I believe, but I don't know who has changed their name to Lando.
So Unity Hush changed his name to Leclerc, if I can remember, RSF1 Leclerc. So
yeah. I don't know who
Lando is.
Yeah, I can remember seeing it and thinking who is in the. I couldn't remember who was in the Red Bull neither, so it doesn't really help. But
Red Bull?
Yeah, the Red Bull. We've got Danny in one Red Bull and RSF1 Lando in another one.
I think that was Quexer. Quexer used to be in. Well, I don't think he used. I think he's still in a Red Bull. I think Quexer was.
That must be a win for the.
So Quexer won.
He got the pole.
Quexer won. Oh, in qualifying or in the race?
Yeah, in the qualifying he came first, but I believe he had an issue in the race because he didn't get. I believe he had an issue when it went to wet weather, which I did as well in my race, but it switched and the feel of the car just went completely out of the window. So I believe a lot of people in F1, when it switched to intermediate tyres mid-race, it caught a lot of people out, and the winner was Vettel in the end. Not the RSF1 Vettel.
Vettel SF17.
Yeah, and Legends got second, and Danny in the other Red Bull got third in the actual race.
Wow!
But that's what I wanted to touch on. The actual weather on this track was so... It's unbelievable because the braking zones and that for this track, they're so precise. And when it goes to a wet or intermediate track, that just throws it out of the window. And that makes it really difficult for people. So we did see quite a few people not finish in the F1 race, unfortunately. And I do believe that was because of that change of weather halfway through. Other than that, it was a good race.
Well, moving on to F4 on Wednesday, my race, being more on the perspective of the race around, it was a very odd turn of events really, because it was a full wet qualifying, but it was a dry race. So it was a very, very hard qualifying session because Tidgosaurus had an incident with RSF1 Raikkonen, and actually they both had an incident, and Raikkonen got crashed out, and that's currently being looked at from the qualifying. And then it was the qualifying was really hard to say because the rain really did set a few people back. But in the end, for the top three for the start of the race in qualifying, from Q3, was Tidgosaurus on pole for the start of the race, RSF1 Alonso in second place, and then myself in third after the qualifying sessions. And then in the race, it went there was a bit of a contact in the beginning of the race, and quite a few people fell down. I know Scotsman, Raikkonen, and a few others. Unfortunately, because Raikkonen got crashed out, he ended up near on in the back of the grid, and he got caught in some issues. So Raikkonen fell down. Then we had like strategies going on. There was a strong battle between myself and Tidge for a little bit, and then I started to fall back, and then Tidge managed to build himself quite a lead. Then McCracken and Junior started to do really well. Rebster was on a really good charge. I'm not aware of the driver of the day. I've not been able to look into it because I've been a bit busy with work. But in the end, the results for the Russian Grand Prix ended with McCracken actually getting his first win in RSF1. So congratulations to McCracken in his first win in F4. Second place was actually Tidgosaurus, who only missed out on first place by 0.088.
Oh, that's close.
Yeah, that was the gap between him and McCracken. That's before, depending on what happens with the investigation with the Raikkonen incident. Then Junior actually came third in the at the end of the race. So it was Junior's first podium for Haas in RSF1 in F4. So that's good for him and his teammate RSF1 4. They both got some good points for the team. Yeah, so the Hasses are starting to score some good points. I fell down to fourth in that race, so a bit of a low down there. And before we go on to F3, I'd like to just say for the viewers watching the stream, if you have any questions or anything like that, please put them into the comments. In our chat, please feel free to ask something, and myself and Top Notch will answer it to the best of our capabilities. And before you ask again, in case you joined us late, Tomo and Pepperme are unwell, so they'll be joining us next week, hopefully, if they are feeling better. But now Top Notch.
Yeah.
So
the one thing I wanted to say about the F4 guys was, I think a lot of us in the league got shocked when we actually found out that Junior's Rebster's son, if I heard that correctly in the stream.
I already knew.
I didn't know that. I was surprised when I found that out. So that's a cool little fact for the stream.
Yeah, so in case you lot didn't know, as Top Notch just said, Junior
Father and
is
son
Rebster's
racing
son.
side by side, some good clean racing in F4.
Not in the same team, though. No family
not in
racing.
The same team. That would be the one, wouldn't it? Father and son racing in the same team. That would be class. Yeah.
Right, Top Notch.
On to the
F3.
F3 guys, which is my race on Thursday. We were all terrified to see that we were going to have a nice flip race compared to the F4 guys because our qualifying was dry, but it was absolute torrential rain just halfway through the actual race. But qualifying was going really well. We were seeing some really good fast times as usual from the F3 guys, and weren't any real shocks in qualifying. You had the usual Easton and Base Rhombus and Jace Lee get back in with some good times this week and getting up there. I believe Q3 ended with, trying to remember who got pole in F3. I believe it was Dazed Rhombus got pole in F3, and then
Route 915.
Yeah, Route 915, and then Tom Bresner got second, and a name I like to see up there is Jace Lee got third with a strong week this week, and that was the top three in qualifying. And at the start of the race,
we have a question.
Yep.
It's LR Blazer Guns. So first of all, hello Blazer Guns, and to answer your question on how do I join the podcast, you have to contact RSF1 Alonso on Xbox or Discord in order to join the podcast, or at least request to join, and then he will be able to talk to you if it is possible or not possible. So if you'd like to do that, mate, please contact Alonso, or as we know him as King Tomo. Please contact him and he will do his best to try and sort something out if it's possible.
Yeah,
sorry about that. Top Notch, please continue.
No, that's all right.
So that's the qualifying.
I just
really
remembered that
strong.
in qualifying, the very start of qualifying, the real
Top notch. Um, Top notch. You cut off. We have bumped into a little problem. Top Notch seems to have cut off for a second. He's probably disconnecting from the party, or he has. Or something's happened either way, but we have lost Top Notch at the moment. Try and see about letting him know that he has lagged out. So we'll give us a moment. If anyone has any more questions in the meantime, please put them down into the chat and we'll try and answer it to the best of our capabilities. All right, so I've now contacted Top Notch to see if he has been aware that he might have disconnected. Okay, so for the meantime, while we wait for Top Notch to try and fix his problem, we will well, until we get Top Notch back, we won't be able to do
Hello,
the.
mate.
Oh, there you go. Hello, Top Notch. you cut off there for a moment.
Yeah,
As
sorry
you were
about
saying
that.
about qualifying, so interesting
Yeah,
thing that happened in qualifying, the mate.
Sorry about that. My controller went. These things happen.
That's
Anyway.
all right, mate. That's all right.
Yeah, Easton made a bit of a boo-boo at the start of Q1, which see him at the back of the grid for the start of the race, which was an interesting point that
Ooh.
I'd missed. And on the start, he made 2 places straight off the bat, which was a good start. And from the F3 guys, it was mostly a clean first couple of laps, if I'm not mistaken. I was actually racing, so it was hard to tell, but I didn't see too many incidents. But as soon as that rain come, I think it was like lap 13 or lap 14, it was so hard to drive. It was really hard to drive. So to the guys that did finish, hats off to you lot, because I really, really struggled in that one. And the top 3 for that race was Dazed Rumbus finishing first with Class Act. His teammate comes second, Element Snow, and DPS Racing got on the podium in 3rd place.
Wow.
So yeah, DPS Racing with a really good show, and Element Snow and Dazed Rumbus, yeah.
So
Really
nothing
good
from your
race.
teammate there, Moronix, or as we know as Hamilton.
No,
Nothing from him then.
No, I knew, because normally before the races we sit in a party together because we're teammates, and normally Easton's sitting there with us as well. And I knew that he just wanted to get some points. He didn't feel too confident in that switch between dry weather and wet weather, which I didn't either. It was so hard. I was braking 40 to 50 meters before the braking zones where I'd normally feel comfortable, and I just couldn't stop the car. So hats off to the top, I think it was 11 drivers that finished in F3, which is unusual. We normally get quite a few full races. And
Rain can be a massive turning point in races, no matter where. So it's no surprise if incidents do happen in the rain, because with torrential, it's hard to see, especially if you're behind the car. Obviously, the braking zones, as you said, you have to brake a bit more earlier than usual because of the concentrated amount of rain.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, well done
Russia.
to.
Anyway,
Oh.
I was worried about getting penalty points in Russia for cutting corners because it's so hard around Russia, and then the rain just come.
Well done to Route 915, Element Snow, and DPS Racing for getting the podium. And actually, a good question for the pair of us now, Top Notch. You got Suzuka next week. How do you feel about that track coming up?
I'm quietly confident. I feel like Dazed Rumbus, Easton, and Hatton, and another name, I can't quite remember his name normally.
Bresner?
Bresny? Yeah. Them guys are mightily fast, so to be fourth or fifth in that race, I think I'd be happy with that.
Rightio.
I
So
think I might just add from the F3 race that I believe Easton got the drive of the day from coming back off the grid to fourth. So, yeah, that
nice.
showed his
Very good
pace.
drive there from
He went
Easton.
from 17th to 4th.
That's impressive.
So, yeah, that young man was flying.
Right,
so
so
I
now,
believe if he
top
could have had a
notch.
good qualifying, he'd have done really well in that race. I think he'd
Yeah.
have been a bit gutted and happy at the same
Here's
time.
now where we take the stream down a gear. So, as you guys already know from what I said at the beginning of the podcast, that in 3 days, because we are recording the live stream, well, they're doing the podcast on the 8th of November. So, in 3 days, it will be Remembrance Day. So, obviously, we cannot do it on the podcast on Monday because, as you know, not everyone's going to be available. So we are going to take this moment. So in the transition period from the race recap to interviewing special guests, we will be holding a minute silence to commemorate the fallen, the people that died and fought for their countries, not just in the First and Second World War, over pretty much most of the wars that's happened in recent human history. So we'd like to take a minute's silence in just a moment to commemorate those brave people that fought for our freedom today. So before we begin at Top Notch, do you have anything to say about it?
No, I'm happy with that, mate. I'm all about respect.
So we will now begin the minute silence. Thank you for joining us for the 1 minute silence. And that minute silence was to commemorate the brave lives that were lost in not just war, the victims of war, soldiers who bravely sacrificed themselves to secure us the freedom that we have today. And this is completely for all countries and nationalities. We're not going to obviously it's for our veterans in Britain, obviously, because we are British, but it's for all those poor young lives that were lost in the conflict, because so many people unfortunately passed on, and were killed in so many different things. But anyways, we've taken the minute silence to commemorate them. If you guys wish to say something in the chat, like a story or anything, please feel free to. We will catch up on it near on the end of the stream. If you'd like to say something in case you've had any family or friends of the family who may have probably served not just in the First or Second World War, but recently, in the Afghanistan or anything like that. But anyways, now we move on to the guests. So, Top Notch, I would ask you now if you can invite our 3 guests. So,
Yep, that was
our 3 guests for today, everyone. We've held it, obviously, until after the minute silence, because this is the Remembrance episode. And our 3 guests today, well, I'll give you a little clue at the moment until we can get one of them in. it's a bit more themed towards the F4 guys. So we've got a few people in, because obviously last week was a bit of a special one. It was the Irish themed episode, so we had quite a few people in that one. So Top Notch is going to try and get one of them in.
Yeah, one of them I had an invite.
And then we will ask them some questions on, how they feel the season's going, or any of their special roles. We've still got some more people now coming to the stream. Welcome to the stream. If you have any questions, please put them down into the chat below. And as this is a remembrance episode, if you have any stories or anything about friends or family that have served in the armed forces, or have served if they are no longer with us, you can feel free to put them into the chat. If you don't wish to, then that's completely fine.
Look, the main one has had a invite. He doesn't seem to be joining.
Hopefully, they will join. I was gonna leave it until one of them joins, but it doesn't. They're not joined yet. We'll give them a moment. So our three guests, at the moment, well, it's supposed to be RSF1 Rebster. It's one of them. Blazer Guns, and Tidgosaurus. If any of you three are watching the stream at the moment, I think Top Notch, is the party open?
Yeah, the party should be open.
Have a little check. If it's invite only, that's my mistake.
Oh, that's joinable, mate.
Okay, so if Rebster, Blazer Guns,
not online,
or Tidgosaurus could join the podcast, we would like to talk to you about recent events or your season or anything like that. Have you invited Blazer Guns?
I haven't got them as friends, mate, unfortunately.
If you bear with us, guys, I'm going to put an announcement out to the three members.
I don't believe Rebster's online.
You have to bear with us for a moment, guys. We're sorry about this. Well, I've put an announcement out to them now, so hopefully they should be able to get in. So we will have to bear with for just a moment. I apologise, everyone, for obviously we did have the minute silence, but obviously it's been a little bit more quiet because we are doing our best to get our guests in, as they seem to not be joining at the moment. So for the moment, to give us a topic to talk about while we wait for the lads to come in to the party. Top Notch. Right,
Yeah,
so
mate.
I know we've already talked about Suzuka, but we're already nearly at the end of the season. The first season of RSF1 is already nearing a close, which is very, very scary of how quick the season's gone by. It almost feels like real F1, it's like hard to believe that like both the real one and RSF1 are like nearly done. Oh, Laser Guns has commented. You have to bear with me. I have to invite Blazer Guns in.
Yeah, I'm now looking for his name on Discord, but I don't know.
Because
Because
he apparently can't find the. He apparently can't find it. So if we have to invite Blazer through the Xbox. Blazer Guns. Just go on to your Find People and type in the Find People RSF on streaming. There's no spaces or anything. you should be able to follow the profile there and join from there. Because I don't think actually you've added the podcast
I can't even find
profile.
his name in the Discord chat, so.
Yeah, I'm having troubles getting a hold of him.
He's
We'll
not
try
in
and do
my
our best, because
recently
right
played
now,
with neither.
at Tigrosaurus, Rebster, and Blazer I don't know about Tidge and Rebster, but right now Blazer is attempting to try and get in. He is struggling. We've got Camo in chat saying, good podium, Tomo. Yeah, that was in the qualifying with Tomo getting second. So that was really, really good work from him there. But yeah, anyways, so a handful of races that we got left. So obviously we've got Suzuka, we've got Mexico, we've got America, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. Excluding obviously a couple of divisions that still have like an extra race after Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Which one of those races are you looking forward to out of that bunch?
Well, I think I'm looking forward to quite all of them, I'd say, apart from Japan. Japan's first sector for me is a hard one. Not in the sense of being hard for me, but I find when we race around there, or when I race around there, it's really, really tight. Really, really. It's like side by side inducement as well. It really is a track where you want to be side by side with people, but it's hard to do at the same time. So yeah, I think that's the least look forward to track of the calendar, I'd say, for me. But other than that, Abu Dhabi's always a good track, so I'll be looking forward to that one.
Abu Dhabi's quite a difficult track though, because it's got a fair amount of straights, and corners, a lot of high speed corners. It's a very, very good track though. I personally love it because it's one of the only few tracks that actually transition from like near on dusk to night.
Yeah.
So Tidgosaurus is trying to join the podcast as well. They're both having trouble. I've told them how they're going to get in. Well, I've told them to search in the profile because they're having trouble. I swear they could have, but there we go. Tidgosaurus has added the profile, so now Tidge is probably going to join momentarily. Hopefully. Yes. This is a bit of a pickle, so sorry about this, guys. I've managed to invite Tidgosaurus. There you go, there's Tidge. Finally, we got one of them. Hello, Tidgosaurus. Before we do anything, Camo, you're not meant to be in there, bud. Okay. Right, so Tidgosaurus, please make sure that your audio is included in the party. Awesome. So there's Tidge. We will try and get a hold of Blazer. Anyway, so Tidgosaurus, first of all, welcome to the podcast. So you've been a silent warrior for pretty much most of the season. You've been a mic-less racer, and recently after Italy, there we go. There's Blazer Guns. Thank you. Right, so before we carry on, Tidgosaurus, Blazer Guns, hello, welcome to the podcast. Can you please make sure your audio is included in the party tab?
It is.
We still haven't heard anything from Rebster, so I don't know if Rebster's going to be able to join us tonight. So hopefully we can get a hold of him. But anyways, let's carry on with Tidgosaurus for the start. So Tidge, again, you've been silent for most of the season, obviously with no microphone, and recently after your victory in Italy, you managed to procure yourself a mic. So obviously, tell us about how your season's been for you in RSF1 for F4.
Well, I mean, I only joined the league this year. Like, I joined a couple of weeks before the league actually started racing, so sort of a trial by fire in Australia. And it didn't go to plan, to put it lightly. I mean, I crashed in all three. Well, I crashed straight out the bat in qualifying, crashed lap 2 of the race. So, I mean, it didn't go that well. Yeah, it didn't go great.
Not a very good start
But
in brutal honesty. But you made up for it.
Yeah, I made up for it in Bahrain. I wasn't expecting that at all. Like, to be honest, like I did a lot of practice for Bahrain because it was like a culture shock. So I was like, oh, I actually need to practice a lot. So I did a solid like 3 or 4 days practice for Bahrain. Didn't think I was doing well enough whatsoever. And turned up, smashed out a win. I was pleased with myself, to be honest. And then from then on, I've just been going from strength to strength, really. I mean, minus Hungary.
Well, actually, I've got a question for you, and obviously, because you are with the Alfa Romeo team in F4, and your teammate is McCracken. So, a question for you is, how's your chemistry with your teammate, with McCracken?
Oh, it's great. I love McCracken. He's such a funny lad. I mean,
yeah, he's a really good lad. He's a really good rival as well. He's a strong racer.
Yeah, after the podium on Wednesday, me and him were just sat in the party talking for a good hour, just joking about stuff. It was brilliant. But yeah, he's a really quick guy. Like, I'm shocked at the fact that it took him this long to get a win. But let's hope that he keeps it going. Just not enough to ruin my title.
Yeah.
Well, a couple more questions before we move on to Blazer Guns. So, obviously, you are currently the championship leader in F4, followed by me in second place. How do you feel this championship's going to go? Do you feel that you might be able to take the championship away, or do you think this battle might battle on to the bitter end?
Oh, well, firstly, what's the gap now? I haven't really looked.
I think it's about 20, roughly around the 20-point mark, because I finished 4th in Russia and you finished 2nd, so you didn't get that many points ahead of me Wednesday. So I think I definitely know it's in maybe at least around the 20-point margin, so it's still close.
All right. Well, I mean, in an ideal world, I do a Lewis Hamilton, like when it gets to the end of the season and just streak into the distance, get it to the 100 mark, win the championship, then just not win whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, it's close, but I get it wrapped up before Monaco, because I'm really not looking forward to a title fight in Monaco.
Top Notch, you had a question?
Yeah, I think a lot of the league is enjoying the F4 racing because of the tightness at the top of the leaderboard. It's a really tight battle for you F4 guys.
Best league in the.
I do feel that we've had our fair share of drivers really surprising everyone, because I think I remember Italy, everyone was surprised by my pace, and then I think it was actually Russia with how fast you were, Tidge, because you were just flying away. Your speed, because I know you're generally a really quick driver, but your speed in Russia on Wednesday was incredible. You was fast, so it just shows that
all of my practice, I was hating it so much. And then turn up.
I didn't have any practice because I've been working. I got a new job lately, so sort of I got home from work, I did 1 lap, and I was like, that'll do. I got into the race. But
I've managed to neglect my uni work for this. So.
The final question before we move to Blazer Guns, the constructors. So it was the first 1-2 in a long while from Alfa Romeo. So obviously it puts you and McCracken. I think Canada around that time. But anyways, it's gonna put you and McCracken, well, the Alfa Romeo team, a little bit more further up obviously with the lack of Alco Saints in Russia, obviously it left me being the only real breadwinner for Red Bull. How do you think you and McCracken are going to try and take this away, or do you feel it's going to probably be the same as the Drivers' Championship, like it could go to the bitter end?
I reckon the constructors will most likely go to the bitter end. To be honest, it's one of those things. There's so many, because it's a lot harder to keep a run going in the constructors because you've got to rely on your second driver, and anything can happen. It's not as easy as in real life where Mercedes will go, oh, okay, well, we're top six regardless. It's sort of, you actually have to think about everyone in the league rather than just the top six drivers.
Mm.
Well, thank you, Tidge, for answering some questions. If anyone has any questions for Tidgosaurus while we talk to Blazer, please put it into the chat, and then we will ask Tidge on your behalf to see if you want to get any questions out of him. But for the moment, Tidge, just you hang to one side for the moment. Blazer Guns, welcome to the podcast, mate. It's good to have you here. And I knew recently you had a little bit of time off, and you came back. It's good to have you back. So obviously you're not just a driver in RSF1. I think you've got a bit more of a higher position.
Yes, I am the vice head of F4. I am.
Would you like to go on about how your season's gone so far, and also explain to everyone about your job role as a vice division head within RSF1?
Well, my role is just to make sure I get the announcements out ready for practice and the race for our drivers in F4, and basically see the attendance of who can make it out of the full-time drivers and the reserves who can make it, just in case some of the drivers that can't make it. It's been very well at the moment since the second half of the season, from about Italy or Belgium, as far as I'm aware of at the moment. I've been happy with our drivers turning up, having full grids every now and again. Now I'm just pretty pleased with that. And well, as a driver for myself, the start of the season hasn't been too well. I mean, for the first few races, had a good change of luck of Baku winning my first race in this league. There by
Well done there, mate.
nearly not only just crashing myself out with that, nearly with losing my wing damage, but I was happy to get my first win in that, and then a few more bad lucks, and come to Belgium, managed to scrape off a podium in second, and just pretty much more bad lucks, pretty much being repeatable for me. But I have announced that I am taking a bit of a break of racing, about a couple of weeks or so. So I'm missing Japan and the race after that. But hopefully my mind's be clear and I'll be back the week after the other race, which I think might be USA. I think I'm right.
Yeah, 'cause
Mexico.
we'll go Japan, Mexico, then United States. If you're going away for a fortnight, then you'll probably miss the Japanese and the Mexican Grand Prix, so you'll be back for America.
Yeah, I'll be back for America as far as... So I said I'll be off for 2 weeks, so it'll be America, I'll be back. That's just all races as well, just to clear my head. The amount of personal things that's been happening, it's been troubling.
I understand, mate. We've all had a bit of a rough time. I think the league knows that, that we are all with you in whatever you're dealing with. Obviously, we're not going to reveal it onto the podcast, but everyone, including myself and Top Notch, are here for you, mate. For if you need us, because the league has been a strong family since we begun. I mean, everyone saw the incredible support for
sure.
when my father died. It was amazing support that I'd received, and obviously everyone else has just been truly amazing. So you've got great people beside you for if you ever need them.
Thank you.
Lads in Discord, that's for sure. If anyone ever have any problems, they're always there.
Oh, well, thank you guys.
On to your next race, mate. How are you feeling about if you're going to miss the next couple? How are you feeling about American race Grand Prix.
The American Grand Prix, yes. Not my strongest track, but I will make a few adjustments and get myself prepared for that. I know I've got the pace to challenge the top drivers. I've proved it every now and again. I'm just hoping, coming off my couple of weeks off, I'll be back. I'll be stronger. I'll be more focused, and I'll be putting on the challenge for the rest of the season.
And we'll go to Tidge quickly. Tidge, obviously, you will be here for Japan, hopefully. How do you feel about the next race? So, obviously, because Blazer won't be back till America, so it will go to you about Japan. So, how are you feeling for the Japanese Grand Prix coming up?
I mean, I've done some laps. They're pretty good, and they're alright, but it's just sort of being consistent. Because obviously the S section's a bit deadly in this game for some reason. If you clip one of the curbs, you'll just sort of get sent sideways a bit, and it ruins your lap completely. So it's just making sure that you can keep consistent throughout the entire race, just missing that one curb. But other than that, I'm happy about it, to be honest. I'm quite
Before
quick.
we ask any more questions for Blazer Guns or Tidgosaurus, if because I noticed we had a load of people join the league recently as reserves, hopefully for the next season. If you are looking to join RSF1, please go to www.racingseriesf1.wixsite.co.uk or .com, sorry, and you will be able to apply through there, or you can contact some of our committee members, which is Rebster, Shane Jr., Bodder, For, etc. We've got quite a few people in the committee. Please feel free to ask them any questions if you wish to join RSF1, and hopefully we will see you in the next coming races, or maybe in the second season. Because actually, I was going to ask all of you, obviously, because it's nearing the end of the first season, which has been a tremendous first season for the league. It's been a really, really amazing debut for RSF1. It's been really, really good racing from all four divisions, and then in season 2, when it does come around, how are you all feeling for that? We'll start off with Blazer Guns.
I think I'll be ready for season 2. A lot more drivers, a lot more competitors. Hopefully they'll be as quick as well as we are. Bring us a bit more competitive. All I'm just hoping is that I have the same results as we've been having, full grids, and just hoping keep it clean, not have any issues.
Right, Top Notch. We'll do you next. How will you feel about season 2 when it does come around?
Yeah, that's my main goal now. Obviously focused along the rest of the season, but definitely looking forward to next season. Mainly because if I'm not mistaken, the league might be getting another tier, which will only level out playing field. That will allow the tiers to be a lot more level playing field. And yeah, I think that'll be a really good second season, because I think a lot of people are astonished that it's gone as well as it have. It's quite a big league, 4 leagues or 4 tiers in one league for the first season, and the guys behind the scenes have done a really good job. So I believe in them to really level it out for season 2 and iron out any kinks and make the league awesome, because it is awesome as it is. So, yeah.
And finally, Tidgosaurus. How are you feeling for season 2 of RSF1?
I'll be honest, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. Because obviously I've got a degree to think about, so I haven't really looked ahead to the future much past my own exams and stuff. Yeah. And obviously I don't even know if I'm going to come back for season 2. I need to...
If you do.
I
Yep.
hope I do. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing this, but it's just sort of obviously £9 is a lot of money, so I kind of need to stay. I kind of need to stay in uni, and it'd be ideal.
Well, you can always be in reserve, so just in case you have a free day from your coursework, you can step into a reserve seat, so you'll be able to attend a race. So it won't,
Hopefully.
obviously your chances of because obviously from what I'm hearing from your degree, and which I do hope it all goes well, by the way, with your degree work, because a few friends of mine are in uni, and I heard from them how difficult it can be.
Join the struggle.
Well, here's how bad it was. My friend literally survived off of like the Sainsbury's cheap noodles, literally like the cheapest noodles that you can buy in there, like the
Hey, nothing wrong
Yeah.
with them noodles.
He-
boy.
he- here's
fine dining,
yeah.
that is. Don't
Fine
let
It's like-
tell you
dining for some
try it.
people.
a handful of packs would sort him for like a week, and it only cost him like what, maybe £2 or £3 for the lot.
Yeah, I think last
anyways,
year there was a week where I ate just pasta because I'd ran out of food.
Yeah,
So,
we've all been there.
Living the dream, mate. Living the dream.
But anyways, obviously, depending on how the end of the championship goes for F4, that you could potentially be the future F4 champion, or maybe even runner-up, depending on the performance of McCracken, Alco Saints, or myself, because they have actually been really quick. Because right now, it may seem a bit like you and me at the moment, but McCracken's on the rise, and Alco Saints has been really, really fast lately.
Yeah,
It's really hard to put a pin on the main top two. So you could potentially be the future champion, but if for example's sake, if you don't win the championship, do you feel you might try, if you have the ability to, try to maybe fight again for a second chance, or are you going to think a little bit more into the coursework for the second season?
oh for sure. If I don't win it this year, I am that's dead straight going for the title in season 2. You can't be happy with second place. There's always places to improve from there.
Well, it depends on how the season goes. If it's nice and close, and I mean, like me personally, obviously, I'd like to win the championship, but I'm having too much fun with our battles. You and I have constantly swapped for first, so if I do get second, if I do get second, I'm runner up in the championship.
Yeah.
Obviously, you may not be the champion if you're second place, but still, you are fighting with the champion. So,
Yeah.
like for me, for the first season, because I didn't even expect to do this, I was hoping to maybe at least get one win and a few podiums, and I've gotten like 5 or 6 podiums, as well as the one win back in Australia. It's like I'm already really happy with how my season's gone. I would like to win the championship, but at this moment, I feel like the season's like my main quota, my main goal for the first season has been met, and I'm just really happy with the battle.
I mean, going into this, because this is my first ever league racing experience. Like before this,
Same here.
Same.
We're both rookie league racers, and
Yeah, I've
we're
never have
just
as well.
battling heavy.
Yeah, all I did.
Well,
was
that's
career
definitely
mode
making me
before
bad.
this. It was like, I mean, in Australia, the first thing I had to get used to was not cutting corners to get a past AI. I was fuming. But yeah, I mean, going into this, I was just gonna be happy with getting points. To be honest, like I saw a lot of people's times, and I wasn't really matching them. But I put a lot of practice in. Like I started the year using full assists on everything. Now I use barely anything. I think I use ABS, and that's about it. So it's like I've grown a lot as a driver.
Same here. The league does really develop everyone. The amazing support and the great people, it's truly a remarkable thing being a part of this league. But yeah, so we have reached the end of the podcast. So I'd like to say, first of all, thank you to everyone, if you're watching this live or if you're watching this on YouTube, for taking a minute's silence to commemorate and honour those who lost their lives in the horrible wars and conflicts, not just soldiers, but victims of the conflict itself. So thank you for joining us for that and for paying your respect. And also thank you to Tidgosaurus and Blazer Guns for joining us. It's a shame we couldn't get Rebster in. We would like to hear a little bit about his role within the league, but that'll be for another time. But yeah, thank you, Tidge and Blazer Guns. So everyone, please give them a round of applause for humouring us with answering our questions and really just making this more really enjoyable. And also to my fellow podcast member, Top Notch. Obviously, we're 2 men down, but we managed to hold down the fort. So it's a really good job to you, mate, for helping me hold down the fort for today.
Yeah, you too, mate. You too. Good job.
And that is the end of the RSF1 podcast. So thank you for watching. Thank you to our guests and our team. If you want to join us for round 17 of the RSF1 season, F2 will be at 8 p.m. on Sunday around Japan. So don't miss that, guys. And we will see you in the next one.